What's up you guys, Paul here. So today's video is actually inspired by one of my favorite Super Smash Bros. Players, Esam. So for those of you who keep up with Super Smash Bros, you may know who that is. Top Smash 4 player, but anyway, he made a video recently about defining your goals in playing Smash, whether or not you want to win or play casually and kind of what the implications are and things like that. So I'm making a similar video for Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I was really inspired and really agreed with a lot of the things he said. So yeah, let's apply this to Yu-Gi-Oh! So the reason I'm making this is because I hear a lot of people, complain because they aren't maybe getting the results they want, or they complain about things like the meta. Here's the verdict on that. Okay, so if you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! You need to define the goals that you have for this game. If your goals are, to win, or if your goals are to just have fun, or be, the most creative person with a certain deck, things like that. This is important because this really kind of influences how you need to respond to other players and certain situations in tournaments or in free play. So often I hear people complaining about, meta decks, things like Pepe, Cosmos, and this is nothing new. I mean, last format it was like the Cross and Burning Abyss, people hated those, Shadows, stuff like that. And they complain and, they scream, nerf, nerf, I hope the ban list, hits this deck, it's so stupid, it's so annoying. But the thing that's, I think, really important to keep in mind with all of this is that, there will always be a meta deck, and if you want to win in Yu-Gi-Oh!, unfortunately, you just kind of have to play one of the meta decks. It isn't to say that you can't win with another deck, or that you shouldn't play, creative or lower tier rogue decks. It's just that if your expectations are to win, say, a YCS, or, nationals, or a regional, or anything like that, then you're handicapping yourself by choosing not to play a meta deck. And to complain about, a meta deck having a good matchup against you, or, losing to Pepe because it's so cheap, or Cosmos because it's OTK you, it's not really addressing the problem. You have to be kind of honest with yourself here. If your goal is to play Yu-Gi-Oh! And be creative, that's totally fine. I totally support that. I mean, if you couldn't already tell, this channel is kind of about, creative decks and, beating the meta and things like that. But generally speaking, I feel like too many players will use a lower tier rogue deck and, enter a regional or a YCS and then complain when they lose to top tier decks, but you're clearly kind of out of your realm when you think about it that way. The people who enter YCS events, the people who enter regionals, they want to win, and they're using the best decks available to them to maximize their chances of winning. If you are entering a regional with your Melodious deck and you're losing, to Pepe and Cosmos like left and right, it's kind of obvious why you lost. You can't really, obviously, no matter how good of a player you are, you're going to struggle with those kinds of decks, and that's just kind of how it is. But it's kind of one of those things where if you can't beat them, join them. And if you want to be the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Player or win regionals and get invites and win MyCS events, it's really only sensible. It's only the next logical step to play the best deck. And to complain about people who play them, it's also just kind of rough, because that just means they're trying to win. They're making the most logical decision to win. You have to respect it. And if you want to win, then you're holding yourself back if you use a lower tier deck. Now, with that being said, I think that depending on what your goals are, you can ignore a lot of these things. If your goal is to just be the best, Melodious player or Arrow Mage player, things like that, then it's fine, if you don't always win, if you're just wanting to be the Arrow Mage player who ranks the highest at your local or ranks the highest at a regional, gets 48th place, which, would be maybe good. If you went like 5-3 or something, great. But don't complain about people who play meta decks. And, they shouldn't complain about people who also have different goals. I don't like seeing, try-hard meta players entering in a fun deck tournament and, they're still trying to like side deck every, optimal card, anti-spell fragrance and like, Imperial Iron Wall, and just being like a try-hard and trying to win, because that's clearly them being out of their element. If you're at a fun deck tournament where, people are using Fire Fists and Gladiator Beasts and all these like fun, crazy, conky decks, then, don't enter a fun deck tournament with your Pepe deck and complain because like you faced a bunch of scrubs and like they don't know how to play and they're bad. Why aren't you like at a regional or ICS, right? Like it's a fun deck tournament. That's kind of what it's about. So, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong side. I'm not telling you you have to play meta, or that, you have to just take the abuse that meta players dish out. I'm just saying that when you play Yu-Gi-Oh!, you have to really be honest with yourself about, whether or not you want to win, or whether or not you just want to be the best with a certain deck, or whether or not you just want to have fun. You know, and I think that something else that's worth noting is that Yu-Gi-Oh is fun at all levels. A lot of people say that meta players, you know, they sap the fun out of the game and they're not having fun anymore. They're just playing for, you know, just to win and that's it. And that's not necessarily true. Honestly, some of the players I feel who have the most fun with this game are the people who, you know, play a top tier deck and really master it. And for them, that is fun. The strategy and outplaying people, playing, you know, with high stakes, you know, when you're like round 9 or 10 of a huge event and you're on the bubble, things like that, you know, or you want to go like completely undefeated. Those people, they're having fun in their own way. I don't really think that there's anything wrong with that, and it's just as wrong to accuse someone of, you know, being bad at Yu-Gi-Oh! Or they should quit just because they're playing a low tier deck. It's not, you know, fair to say that people who play a creative or a low tier or a rogue deck should like quit, or that, you know, they're doing something wrong. It just means that everybody's kind of got different goals that need to be defined. I think kind of, you know, at some point in your Yu-Gi-Oh! Career, if you want to call it that, because it's just far too often there's so much complaining that I see, and that's the thing that really kind of drives me a bit, is when people want, you know, Pepe needs to get nerfed, it's so unfair, Cyber Dragon Infinity and Solemn Strike and all this stuff, it's so unfair, it costs a lot of money. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, honestly, I feel like people who still complain about these types of things must kind of be new to the game, because if you've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For any significant amount of time, even just a year or two, you should know top tier decks are expensive and top tier decks are unfair. That's how it is. If you want to win, you have to play the expensive deck. You have to, you know, put in the money because you want to win, and you have to, you know, you're just playing with unfair cards, and like, you know, that's how it is. Meta has always been like that. It's never going to change. When the ban list hits Pepe and Cosmos and things like that in a few months, maybe, it's not going to matter. There will be another top tier deck to take their place. So to complain about it just feels, and to try to, you know, there's nothing wrong with being the casual player who wants to like take their ultra athlete deck all the way, but you just have to accept that at a point you're just handicapping yourself. You're going to lose to a lot of Pepe, you're going to lose to a lot of Cosmos, you know, and if you're a good player, then it's only right to play the best deck to give yourself the best chance of winning. So I know this is kind of like a weird video that I'm sure a lot of people will be like, oh, that's annoying, I didn't want to hear that, I want, you know, my low tier deck can win too, and it can. It's not to say that it is absolutely 100 positively % possible, like, you know, or impossible for like, you know, X low tier deck to win, but it's just not likely that it'll happen. You're gonna have to work a lot harder, and if you're okay with that, then good. But I really do agree with the idea of just setting a goal for yourself. If you want to win and be the best at high level events, you play meta decks and you accept the fact that it's expensive, you accept the fact that it's unfair. And if you don't want to win, you know, or you just want to win maybe locally or just be the best with a lower tier deck, accept that meta is going to beat you and don't complain about it. Don't, you know, say like people are being tryhards because they play or they're sheeple. It just, you know, that's how it is. That's how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is. There is a divide and you have to respect it on both ends of the spectrum. That's something that I see so many people complain about, and, you know, they gripe about it on Facebook. This is so broken, this is so broken, this needs to be banned. It doesn't matter. After a top deck gets banned, another one's coming to take its place, I promise. So, that's the video. I hope it, you know, you kind of understand my idea with all of this. It isn't, again, meant to be like anti-casual or anti-competitive. It just means that, you know, when you play this game, be honest with yourself. Do you want to win? If you want to win, use the best tools available. If you aren't as concerned about winning, then accept that the people who do want to win are going to use those tools and you shouldn't complain about them. And last but not least, if you're, you know, a tryhard and you want to win, then don't go entering fun deck tournaments or, you know, draft and complaining about people who suck. That's not fair to them either. So that's the video. I hope you guys liked it. You can follow me. There's social media links in the description. I'm giving away some Bosch boxes. That giveaway is in the description as well. Shout outs to TCGPlayer, my sponsor. Shout outs to Team APS Playmat that you can buy. Things like that. And yeah, that's gonna be all. So I don't think I'm forgetting anything. So share this video if you think there are people who maybe need to hear this. I think that this is a message a lot of people need to hear because I see so much arguing and gripe online about stuff. So I think it's a good message that anyone can appreciate, and yeah. So that's the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.